2 years before Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat, an entire city of Black Americans brought a bus system to its knees. And you've probably never heard about it. Baton Rouge, Louisiana, 1953. While the nation slept on segregation, Reverend T.J. Jemison was about to orchestrate something that would become the blueprint for the civil rights movement. Yet history barely remembers his name. Here's what happened. The Baton Rouge City Council had just done something calculated and cruel. According to municipal records from 1950, they revoked the licenses of nearly 40 Black-owned bus companies, businesses that had been serving the African-American community for years. The reason? To prop up the failing white-owned city bus system. Black residents who made up 80% of the riders suddenly had no choice but to fund their own humiliation. Picture this. You're standing on a nearly empty bus. Seats up front are vacant. But you're Black in the Deep South, so you stand in the back. And when the fare jumped from 10 to 15 cents in January of 1953, a 50% increase, it was the final insult. Reverend Jemison, pastor of Mount Zion First Baptist Church, the largest Black congregation in Louisiana, went to the city council. They responded with Ordinance 222, a compromise that said Black passengers could sit in white sections only if those seats were empty and the bus wasn't crowded. But there was a catch. You couldn't sit next to a white person or in front of them. Still segregated, just with better optics. The White Bus Drivers Union wasn't having it. According to the Baton Rouge Morning Advocate archives, when 2 white drivers were suspended for refusing to follow Ordinance 222, the entire union walked off the job on June 14, 1953. 4 days later, Louisiana Attorney General Fred LeBlanc struck down the ordinance, claiming it violated state segregation laws. The drivers won. The ordinance was dead, but something else was born that day. On June 18, 1953, Reverend Jemison, businessman Raymond Scott, and NAACP leader B.J. Stanley formed the United Defense League. That same evening at a mass meeting in McKinley High School, they made an announcement that would echo through history. Starting tomorrow, no Black person rides the bus. What happened next stunned the city. According to contemporary newspaper accounts and civil rights documentation, the very next morning, as city buses rolled up to stops across Black neighborhoods, hundreds of people turned their backs to the buses. Not a single person boarded. Black automobile owners turned their cars into makeshift taxi services. Walking became an act of revolution. WCLS Radio, a white-owned station that catered to Black listeners, spread the boycott message across the airwaves. The United Defense League held nightly mass meetings that drew thousands. Historical records show that on June 22nd, more than 7,000 Black residents packed the city municipal stadium in a display of unity that had never been seen before in the Deep South. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. would later study these tactics when planning Montgomery. Here's where it gets controversial. After just 6 days on June 24th, the bus company and city officials met with Reverend Jemison. They were facing financial collapse. The compromise they reached, Ordinance 251, reduced the number of whites-only seats, but Black passengers still had to sit behind whites and stand even if white seats remained empty. Jemison called it a victory. Many in his own organization called it a surrender. The criticism was immediate and fierce. Some felt he'd capitulated too quickly, that they had the power to demand complete desegregation but settled for crumbs. As one UDL member said at the time, captured in civil rights oral histories, "We had them on their knees, and we let them up." But here's what they did accomplish, documented in the archives of the civil rights movement. They proved that organized, peaceful resistance could work in the Deep South. They created a car-sharing system that became the model for Montgomery. They showed that economic pressure could force change. And they did it 2 years before Rosa Parks, 2 years before Montgomery became a household name. The Baton Rouge bus boycott didn't end segregation, but it lit a fuse. And sometimes the first match that strikes doesn't create the fire, it shows others where to aim. Was Reverend Jemison a pragmatist who took what he could get, or did he fold when victory was within reach? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you're just discovering that the civil rights movement's playbook was written in Baton Rouge, not Montgomery, hit that follow button. We're uncovering the history they didn't teach you in school, one forgotten chapter at a time. Share this with someone who needs to know the real story.